Ooh, first episode, we got some nice character moments, fewer goofy scenes, some good action, and it's gone. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Anderson here, and this is Leverage Redemption Season 3, Episode 1, The Weekend in Paris Job. So this is a pretty solid start to Season 3, I think. I wouldn't say it's good, I still think there are issues with it, but I think the biggest thing for me is the main characters do feel a lot more natural in this episode. They don't feel as much of a caricature, I suppose, as they were in the last season. There are some actual real dilemmas, there are some quieter moments with them, and I think that's really good to have, and something that I hope this season continues on with, because I think that's something that second season really lacked. There were very few quiet moments, if any. Most of the time they were cut off by being loud and rambunctious and obnoxious, and it did kill my interest for a lot of last season. I also do think the action in this episode was, for some reason, a lot better. I don't know what it was about season 2. The action wasn't bad. I wasn't really talking about it much, though. I think it just felt very bland and standard compared to what the action was in the original show. Something about this episode, it felt like it brought back the action that I enjoy seeing with Elliot. Even when Hardison was fighting the big guy, there's something enjoyable watching it that I think was just lacking last season. So those are the good parts of it that, in my opinion, did make this episode better than what I was getting for most of last season. However, the one issue that still remains in this episode is the bad guys are still just jokes. And while the acting on this guy, Arizona Mike, I think his name was, even the Russian guy that shows up later, I don't remember his name at all, the acting wasn't bad. It wasn't over-the-top goofy, which was a lot of last season's villains, but it still just did not feel like a real person. It felt like a caricature of what a real-life villain looks like. And I'm not saying a guy like Arizona Mike doesn't exist in our world. They might, but it just doesn't feel as real whenever these over-the-top villains show up and start talking about these dastardly plans as if it's just another Tuesday. I will say, on that same line of thought, the actual heist and plan that they come up with in this one, it didn't feel as cleverly thought out. It felt more like a moment of happenstance that they just so happen to walk upon this guy, see what he's doing, and they have to come up with a plan on the spot. Feels rushed, it feels simplistic. So unfortunately, that is one thing that last season was very guilty of, is the bad guys are not interesting and the plans to stop them are not really fun to experience. But at the very least, they got the characters a little bit better in this episode. As far as the stories they're actually talking about, for Elliot and Sophie, they're fine. Yeah, Elliot's trying to reconnect with his dad. Sophie's trying to reconnect with her stepdaughter. For Hardison, I like the sentiment that he's got going. I like what his mindset is as far as what he's trying to do. But the problem with it is that Hardison has not been on the show that much anyway. For whatever reason, I'm just assuming Aldous Hodge is not available to film throughout an entire season, so they're able to get him for a few episodes here and there. So this doesn't feel as impactful because it's Hardison, because he's already not really involved with the team that often. So him saying he's going to take a step back for 6 months, well, he's already kind of been in and out almost every episode. So this doesn't feel like we're losing him from the team. It just feels like another reason why he's off the show for now. So if they had done this with another character, if maybe Elliot was the one saying this or Parker was the one saying this and they're the one stepping away from the team, I don't think it would feel right for Parker. But I think it would have meant a little bit more to hear that they're stepping away for a few months instead of Hardison, because we're already kind of used to the team not having him around. I think something else that helped this episode, and I don't want to be mean about it, but there's no Brianna in this episode. I think that works a lot better. I do think in her absence, it really showed that I can take this show a lot more seriously whenever she's not in there giving her over-the-top goofy expressions every single time she's on the screen. I'm assuming that won't be for long. I'm assuming she's going to come back in the next episode, but kind of wish she wouldn't. Again, I know this kind of mean. I don't want to pick on the actress. I'm sure it's probably the director telling her that all of the stuff she's doing looks really good, but I just don't think it works. It would work better in a kid's show. She feels like an actress that would do well on a Disney Channel show, but this needs a lot more grounded reactions, and we don't get enough of that from her. Even in her more serious moments, it still feels like she is going over the top with it. But I think that's about it for this first one. Hopefully it's not just a flash in the pan, and we will get a few more good episodes this season, but I'm not holding my breath. So on to the next one. I'll see you guys there. And now episode 2, the digital Frankenstein job. So this one was okay. It's probably one of the better episodes that has had Brianna in it, to be fair, and have her be a main focal point too. They still did definitely have moments where it felt like they're way too focused on trying to teach a message instead of telling a good story, and so you kind of lose a lot of the intrigue whenever you do that, at least for me. There are some people that might enjoy that, but for me personally, I'm here to be entertained. I'm here to watch a show that is going to tell me a fun story. I don't need to be told that the world's a terrible place and that people like me are always going to win, even though, yeah, let me tell you, that doesn't work. But I think the balancing thing that made it work somewhat in this episode is the conversation that Sophie has with her at the end. Basically saying that you can't just look a certain way and get everything you want. You have to also act kind of like a douchebag. And it does suck that that's the way the world works, that the people who are more greedy and more willing to throw people away are the ones that are going to succeed because they care about their own success more so than helping other people. But I am glad that that's the way that this story went in the end, because there is no real fix for it, but it's something that we can acknowledge and hopefully try to work on as a whole as far as making the world a better place, is trying not to give those people who are douchebags, who are just in it for themselves, try not to give them as much, and hopefully trying to build up the people who are out there trying to help other people. But with Brianna coming back in, it definitely did up the goofiness levels, even from right at the beginning, whenever she's in the courtroom. Just her expression, looking at Harry and looking at what he's dealing with this judge, that one expression from her, that little bit, I'm like, this is so much more goofy in this one moment than the entire first episode was. I don't know why. Again, I understand having some goofy moments because it is a lighter show overall than Leverage is, but you're making it a kid's show. Nobody's laughing at that expression except for toddlers, and they're not watching this show. So why do you feel the need to make all of these stupid, goofy moments that are meant for children's shows? But the villain in this one was also up to an 11 as far as goofiness is concerned. Even just that one moment whenever Sophie and Elliot are in the room with him and he's finding out that his stocks are tanking, and he's just in the background acting like nobody ever in life has ever acted, except for maybe somebody that has like some mental, like schizophrenia or something, just off in the background. Just nobody acts like that. There's so many moments like that throughout this episode with him. So at the end, whenever he kind of gets his comeuppance, but not really, it's not satisfying. And I'll be honest, the way this episode ended was not really that good because none of it felt final. Like these bad guys were getting what they deserved in the moment. The judge maybe, but like Harry said, it's more so she's getting caught in a scandal with her pool boy, and so now for her re-election campaign, it might not go the way she wants it to. But that's in the future. With Steve, the trial got declared a mistrial, but they still have to go into another one, and there's no guarantee that the next one's definitely going to go the way of the guy who got shot. And once again, the setup for the actual con in this one just did not feel clever. They have this whole idea to set up the judge to take a bribe. That'll get her kicked off the bench, but then that doesn't work. So then Elliot decides to put one of his guns in the bag. They set up a meeting between him and one of the jurors, and that's how they do it. It just feels very rushed and sloppy in a lot of ways. I'm not saying every single one has to go 100% smoothly, but it does seem most of these cons do end up feeling winged at the end of it. A couple of the other moments that did feel weird just from a writing perspective. First of all, Tim deciding to try to take the money and pay back the bank so they don't foreclose his mom's house. How did he do that? They have the button cam on him, apparently a camera inside the bag as well. So did he turn it off? And if so, why did nobody say anything? Because not until Harry goes into the room does he realize that Tim's not in there. So why didn't Parker and Brianna see what was going on before then? What, did they just look away from the computer for 25 seconds while he walked out of the room and went to the bathroom? And when they came back, they're like, hey, what happened? I'm confused. It was just a lazy way to set up for a moment whenever the judge walks in and then walks right back out, and for Harry to go in and be like, wait, where is he? Where did he go? And the money's gone too. And then the other thing that didn't work was after Elliot dropped the gun in the bag that Steve was taking to the meeting, he starts asking if anybody has any ideas, even though he clearly just set this whole thing up for him to go meet with the juror. Obviously, we didn't see him put the gun in the bag, so it seemed like a line that was more so meant to make us, the audience, think, they don't have a plan, guys. What's going to happen? Are they going to be able to catch him now? But if you think about it in the context of Elliot just set up the gun in the bag and Sophie is on the phone with the juror, it kind of makes that line seem pretty stupid. So all in all, it wasn't terrible. It definitely wasn't as bad as some of the episodes last season, but it still just was not good. I think the first episode really set the bar high as far as what I can expect from this show whenever it gets really good. And I unfortunately don't think we're going to get too much more of that. I think this is more so what I can expect from this show. A high level of goofiness that allows me to not take the show seriously at all. And that is pretty disappointing. But I think that's about it for this one. So those are my thoughts on these 2 episodes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these first 2? Let me know. We can talk about, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Leverage Redemption reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on here, so check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.